friend group cut me off after a mutual friend felt uncomfortable with our drunken kisses, despite both of us being equally intoxicated. She ghosted me, and the group spiraled into bullying. I never knew I hurt her until it was too late. How could they all turn on me like this? Apologies in advance. I am still feeling very numb, yet hurt and angry, and I am also on mobile, laughing out loud. This will be exceedingly long and messy. There is a summary at the bottom, and I am not seeking advice. I simply want to vent. I am a 21-year-old female and had a group of friends with whom I was very close until last year, I would say. The person I was closest to, whom I will refer to as Julie, a 22-year-old female, began ghosting me over the summer, and I had no idea why. She finally informed me months later that she felt uncomfortable regarding our shared history. We had dated two of the same people and did not wish to be friends any longer. I accepted that explanation at face value. However, then the rest of the group stopped communicating with me, and they never provided any reasoning, leaving me puzzled about why they did so. Well, I finally discovered why a few days ago. For context, around the fall of 2023, Julie and I made out approximately 3 to 4 times during 1 month. It never progressed beyond that, not even touching over our clothes. We were both drunk each time, and I was not the only person she was engaging with. She usually instigated things, but I definitely leaned into it. We did not directly address it, but I had explicitly told her several times that the last thing I wanted was to make her uncomfortable, and that if she ever wanted to stop, I would be completely fine with that. Shortly after, she began dating someone, and I was genuinely excited for her, expressing how happy I was about her new relationship. It was somewhat common knowledge among our friends that I was somewhat into her at the time we had our encounters. I did not have a crush on her at all, but I was undoubtedly attracted to her. I never allowed that attraction to influence my actions. Typically, we would kiss on Friday nights at the student bar, but I could sense a few times that she was not feeling it, so I refrained from flirting, and we enjoyed each other's company as regular friends. I apologize for the rambling. I merely wanted to provide context and explain the backstory. I recently found out that the reason Julie cut me off months later was due to that situation. She had a drinking problem, which I was not aware of at the time, and she would become absolutely intoxicated. I was also very drunk, and while I believe I did not have a drinking problem, I acknowledge that during the times we made out, I was drunk enough that I did not comprehend how much she had consumed. Neither of us was slurring our words or stumbling. We were both fully functional, albeit inebriated, and I thought our feelings were mutual. I assumed it was a reciprocal experience. We had also been flirting for several months before we kissed for the first time, but I never acted on it due to my anxiety. The night of our first kiss, we were making intense eye contact while flirting, and then she stood up and left, causing me to panic. I was so anxious about possibly making her uncomfortable that I spoke to a couple of people about it, including Julie's roommate. Julie had also confided in her roommate about it, and apparently, we were both uncertain and did not know how to initiate the first move, so her roommate encouraged me to pursue it. That roommate now despises me, which feels like a punch to the gut, as there was a time when she and I were best friends. She also understood how anxious I was about making Julie feel uncomfortable. On the second night we kissed, I saw Julie making out with other people, and it felt somewhat strange. It was not that I expected anything serious, but I did not want to feel valued only when she was intoxicated. I felt numb and detached, and later that evening, I told her I was going home, but she pulled me outside to talk. She mentioned that she did not want anything serious and simply enjoyed kissing people, which aligned with my feelings about the situation. I expressed that it was uncomfortable to feel as if I was only desired when she was drunk. She apologized, and we agreed to stop. However, not even 30 seconds later, she kissed me again. I remember saying she was quite confusing, but I told her I didn't mind. Honestly, I did not mind. It was just a brief moment of confusion that I got over during the following times we kissed. The last time we kissed was in a bar the week after, and while walking home together, we all lived pretty close to one another. I informed her that I did not want to have sex or engage in anything beyond kissing unless we were both sober. This was primarily because I wanted to avoid either of us regretting our actions, especially since this would have been my first sexual encounter with another girl, so I did not want to make that decision lightly. I conveyed that I was open to it, But if we never progressed and did not engage again, I was perfectly fine with it. I just wanted to be sober. She agreed that my perspective was reasonable and explained that intoxication allowed her to feel less anxious about kissing me because she did not overthink it. A few times, she mentioned I could touch her chest over her clothes, but I never did because I felt anxious about crossing boundaries, and I also had never done that before. That was our last encounter, and she explained a few days later that she probably would not pursue anything further, as the upcoming month would be difficult for her due to past traumas. I was okay with that, and told her that if there was anything I could do to support her during that time, even if it was just listening to her vent, I was more than willing to help. Naturally, after that conversation, I never flirted with her again, even while under the influence. My primary concern was her happiness, and I was content as long as she was happy. It turns out that every time we made out the following day, she was filled with dread. However, she never communicated this to me. I remember attempting to flirt with her a little after our first sober kiss, but I could tell she wasn't receptive, so I backed off, and we returned to just being friends without any romantic undertones on normal days. I would only reflect the energy she was giving me. I am a naturally anxious individual and am also neurodivergent, making it challenging for me to interpret social cues accurately, but I believed I understood her well enough to gauge what was happening. Julie informed our friends that she believed I took advantage of how intoxicated she was. However, I was unaware of how drunk she truly was until later that semester when she began discussing her struggles with alcohol. During that time, I was also consuming a significant amount of alcohol and assumed our interactions were mutually enjoyable. I thought, hey, we are both drunk, let's kiss for fun. All of our friends cut me out of their lives. Some blocked me or removed me from social media, while others simply ceased communication. I was devastated, and I still am. I cried for months over it, unable to comprehend what I did wrong. The months, almost a year of enduring the pain and confusion resulting from my friends distancing themselves from me now make sense, and I feel utterly disgusting and sickened by the situation. I feel self-destructive in a dangerously negative way. I realize I could not have known how Julie felt because she did not communicate it to me, and I was also intoxicated. However, I continually find myself spiraling mentally, telling myself I should have checked in, that I should have inquired. Both of us were drunk, yet I should have asked. But because of my inebriation, I was uninhibited and did not think too critically. That does not excuse my behavior, and I accept accountability for the entire situation and feel responsible for making someone I loved and cared for uncomfortable. I entirely blame myself for that incident. Whenever I try to tell myself that I did not know, I feel as though I am merely making excuses, and I perceive myself as a terrible person. It appears that everyone else sees me that way as well. The thing is, I do not even blame Julie for her feelings. I only wish she had communicated with me. I also wish she had not simply observed as my beloved friends began to detest me over something that was never conveyed to me. We have a mutual friend, whom I will call Olivia, a 23-year-old female, who was the first to inform me about all of this. Olivia has insisted that Julie tell me because I clearly did not understand the situation. Throughout the summer, Olivia pleaded with Julie to be upfront with me because she was treating me poorly by not communicating, and I was understandably quite hurt by everything. Yet, as soon as I feel any anger toward how I have been treated by Julie and everyone else, I feel terrible again because I believe I deserve this treatment. The friend group harbors so much animosity and malice toward me. They have gone out of their way to exclude me from events I signed up for, purely because everyone has turned against Julie. They have ignored me to my face, have criticized me at every opportunity, and have uttered the most vile things. They even involved one of my boyfriend's best friends, which has made their friendship uncomfortable due to the fallout. I feel that I do not deserve this. The last thing I ever wanted was to hurt Julie, and she knew that. Julie was one of my closest friends, and I could not have acted inappropriately had I been aware of any wrongdoing. I never would have engaged at all had I known she regretted our encounters. Moreover, I simply feel sick about all of this. I am fairly certain even Julie understands that I did not act with ill intent. She told Olivia that she remembers the positive aspects of our friendship and acknowledges that we were both intoxicated. I do not blame her for feeling uneasy about it, nor do I hold her responsible for ending our friendship. People can choose to end friendships for any reason they deem fit, and I have never held that against Julie. I do not even blame the friend group. They are responding based on the information provided to them. However, it hurts that Julie witnessed the situation spiral out of control and did not intervene. I know she finds the extreme hatred directed toward me contemptible, and she does not support how they have treated me, yet she still speaks negatively of me whenever I am mentioned. This has led me to become a recluse, rarely leaving my apartment unless necessary. The other friend with whom Julie kissed, whom I will refer to as Ben, was not ostracized as I was. I know Julie distanced herself from Ben and feels uncomfortable around him for the same reasons, but he has not faced the same backlash from the group as I have. They are still able to approach him on campus and engage in conversation. He has not been labeled the villain, nor have the others expressed their disdain toward him. Ben did exactly what I did, yet I am the one facing the consequences. None of them have ever treated Ben the way they have treated me. This disparity makes me feel an overwhelming urge to harm myself and to sever ties with them to avoid further pain. It instills a fear in me about forming friendships again, because I am terrified of experiencing this kind of hurt, or potentially making someone feel uncomfortable due to my inability to read their minds. I do not know. I am just processing my emotions and fluctuating between thinking I do not deserve this and believing I am the worst person alive. I keep considering that I could not have been aware if Julie did not speak up, yet I feel I should have somehow known. It is all such a convoluted mess. I am overwhelmed with sadness and disgust with myself. My boyfriend repeatedly points out that I tend to focus on how others feel rather than considering how those individuals have made me feel. Nonetheless, I made someone I cared for uncomfortable, and I cannot forgive myself for that. According to Olivia, Julie does not wish any harm upon me. We both feel the same, hoping for the best for one another. Olivia conveyed to Julie how distressed I am and that I never intended to make her uncomfortable. I know we both desire good things for each other, and that Julie recognizes her own failure to communicate and the way she ghosted me without explanation, especially knowing that several other people were treating me similarly. All I sought was honesty from them. I can acknowledge that I certainly did not manage the situation well by not being more cautious about how intoxicated she was, and I should have paid closer attention to her alcohol consumption before pursuing anything. I understand that I was under the influence as well, yet I will never forgive myself for making someone I loved and cared for feel uncomfortable around me. However, I cannot overlook how others have treated me. I struggle to forgive Julie for allowing it to happen. I know she is not confrontational and likely would not have spoken up, but she still contributed to the situation. This has caused me to sink to a low I have not felt in a long time. Just over a year ago, I had a circle of friends I deeply valued and a community at university in which I felt welcomed. Now, while I do have one or two close friends at university, the difference between my current situation and how things were then is overwhelming. This is my rant, I suppose. I feel angry with both myself and them, burdened by guilt over hurting Julie. Yet, I am also frustrated that not one person had the decency to inform me, choosing instead to keep everything hidden from me. I thought I had a decent relationship with one member of the friend group, so I continued to approach them to say hello and engage in small talk now and then. I only noticed months later that they had removed me from social media. When I realized this, I reached out to them to apologize for making them uncomfortable, as I had no idea they had stopped associating with me, and I wished them well. Olivia informed me that, at one point, I do not know if it was before or after I texted them, they were extremely upset about not wanting to stay friends with me, but felt unsure how to express that, resulting in the drafting of a lengthy message that they showed to others for feedback. Ultimately, they never sent it. All I ever wanted was honesty. Even if it was painful and harsh, all I longed for was for people to directly tell me they did not want to be friends anymore. Yet, none of them provided that clarity. Even when Julie finally did speak up, it was not out of consideration for me or my feelings after months of silence. She only disclosed it because Olivia urged her to do so. I am just rambling in circles now. Thank you for listening, Reddit. That is all. Thank you for reading this if you made it this far. Summary. A group of my close friends cut me off without explanation, and I recently discovered it was because one of my friends felt uncomfortable when we made out while she was very intoxicated, despite my being equally inebriated. She acknowledges she did not communicate effectively and realizes it is not entirely my fault since I was unaware of her feelings. Yet she allowed the friend group to spiral out of control and harbor hatred toward me for an entire year. Now, I am essentially being bullied by these individuals and subjected to negative talk for something I did not even know had occurred. I feel terrible about making my friend uncomfortable and disgusted with myself, but I am also angry about how I have been treated. Story 2. What to do after I found out that my 19M boyfriend, 39M, of 1.5 years was cheating on me. TLDR. I discovered that my ideal boyfriend of 1.5 years has been communicating with other men via Snapchat and occasionally sending intimate photos, most of which were old and predated our relationship. However, he has never physically cheated on me, leaving me unsure if this situation warrants ending our relationship. What should I do next? Preface: the age gap is not an issue in this case. I understand that some individuals are uncomfortable with such disparities, but I chose to initiate conversation with him before he approached me. Neither of us has a problem with it. Furthermore, there was never any illegal activity between us. We were together after I turned 18. I prefer dating older men, as that is my personal preference. This post is not about revenge or exploring what I can morally do to retaliate against him. I am merely contemplating whether to end our relationship or not. Note, this post will be quite lengthy, so I will break it into several sections. Feel free to read all, some, or none of it. If you decide to skip ahead, please read the sections on the cheating, how he managed the situation, and the dilemma to grasp the main points. About us. We have been together for nearly 1.5 years and cohabited for approximately 4 to 5 months. To me, we are a perfect match. There are numerous interests we both share and enjoy together, yet there are also many activities we do not both like, which encourages us to try new things. In addition to our common interests, our personalities complement each other remarkably well, and the differences between us blend seamlessly. For instance, he enjoys going out to meet new friends and have spontaneous conversations, while I prefer to socialize in a more intimate setting. When we go out, we manage to combine both elements, resulting in an enjoyable experience. Our dynamic resembles yin and yang, which complicates matters since he aligns with me in all the right ways and diverges in others, allowing us to connect like pieces of a puzzle, as we often say. About our past issues outside of cheating, we have not encountered many conflicts. There have only been 3 significant disagreements. The first occurred early in our relationship because he was unintentionally doing something that upset me. I chose to overlook it until he escalated it unknowingly, not realizing that my feelings were already hurt. The second major argument arose during election night due to our differing political views. While political differences could potentially be a deal breaker for me, he aligns with my views on the issues that matter, such as social rights, so I do not hold this disagreement against either of us. After all, who doesn't argue about politics, especially in Washington, D.C.? The third significant conflict occurred when I discovered he was using a vape without my knowledge, marking the first time I felt a trust issue between us. We had both agreed to quit vaping in October. At his workplace, he is prohibited from having any personal items, including phones and electronics, so he uses a locker for storage. During the holiday season, his company required employees to clean out their lockers, where he found an old vape he had forgotten about. Instead of disposing of it, he stored it in a drawer in case he wanted to use it. When I found it, I was very upset but decided to wait to see if he would actually use it. The following day, while we were having drinks late at night, he went into the room where the drawer was located and used it, prompting me to confront him. He told me exactly what I have shared with all of you, and I believe his account is truthful because I recall him having that same vape. He stated it was in the drawer for only 2 days and used twice, both of which I also believe to be true. He had previously informed me that when he was out with friends who vaped, he might take a hit or two, so the actual issue was that he had his own vape and, more importantly, that he was secretive about it. How he handles issues. Whenever conflicts arise between us, He always assures me that they will not recur, which makes this situation even more challenging because I know I could have the best partner of my life if I choose to return to him. For instance, after he was caught using the vape, he was very remorseful and promised he would never vape again, even around friends. He discarded the vape immediately, and whenever he goes out with friends who vape, he informs me as soon as he gets home or sometimes while he is with them, reassuring me that he is not using their vapes, even though I never asked him to. He aims to provide me with reassurance. He has taken similar steps for our other two conflicts and has consistently put immense effort into ensuring I feel secure and reassured. How I found out. As I mentioned earlier, we have never had petty disagreements or arguments, only those three main instances. Because of this, I had built a significant level of trust and did not feel the need to check his phone, even though I had access to it and knew his password. One day, I had an unsettling feeling that something was off, which lingered for several days. I searched for a vape or something else he might be hiding from me, but to no avail until it finally struck me to check his Snapchat. I logged in and saw all the guys he had added and a multitude of saved photos. The cheating. Note: all information presented here was disclosed to me by him after being caught and confirmed by my own investigation through his phone and discussions with the individuals he had been communicating with. I discovered that he had been messaging other men on Snapchat throughout our entire relationship. He informed me, and I verified through various sources, that most of the men on his list were from before we started dating, and they exchanged random photos occasionally, such as of their faces or locations, but most of those connections had fallen off. He also admitted that he had downloaded Tinder intermittently, 3 times, for short periods to look for me to see if I was cheating on him. During these searches, he swiped through some profiles and added perhaps 5 people on Snapchat. The most troubling part is that one of these individuals from Tinder is a friend of mine who was unaware of our relationship. He mentioned that he found most of these people through the quick add feature. Regarding the intimate photos, if there were approximately 100 guys on Snapchat, which may be the case or slightly fewer, only 20 of them had either sent or received intimate photos, and out of those 20, only 10 were still in contact. 7 of these 10 were aware of him seeing me, and only 5 out of the 10 had received any recent or new revealing photos, such as in underwear or partially nude. Just 2 received actual nude photos during our time together, while the rest were old images from prior to our relationship. He met with a man he had gone on a date with 2 years ago purely as friends, and they went out for drinks. He also invited this friend over without my knowledge, but I spoke to him under the impression that I was conversing with my boyfriend, and as my boyfriend's partner, I confirmed that nothing suspicious occurred between them. It was entirely platonic. The other man who visited, I cannot definitively ascertain whether anything occurred, but my boyfriend stated they had gone out about 2 years ago, and he was subsequently ghosted after their encounter. He matched with this individual on Tinder while searching for me, and led him on for about a month. He invited him over without my knowledge just to hang out and lead him on, and then ceased all communication afterward. From the texts I reviewed, it was clear that the other man felt frustrated and confused, with unopened messages demonstrating his discontent at having been misled. I refer to this situation as somewhat cheating, my language, not his, because he did not engage in any physical acts with these men to my knowledge, and the evidence supports that assertion. The reason I say somewhat cheating is that the majority of the pictures were innocent snapshots of his face, and nearly all of the revealing or intimate photos were older, with only a few exceptions. How he handled it. He became extremely forthcoming, providing all the information I sought and allowing me to examine his phone and verify it with others to ensure credibility. He accepted full responsibility, acknowledging that it constituted cheating and was wrong, emphasizing that he would understand if I never spoke to him again. He also expressed a strong desire to change his ways entirely to become the ideal partner for me. He began searching for a new job that would be more challenging and motivating and enrolled in volunteer opportunities and workout classes. He stopped using recreational drugs and drastically reduced his alcohol consumption to just a few drinks on weekends. Moreover, he has been incredibly transparent with me about all my inquiries. I can see the effort he is putting forth and the pain that the prospect of losing me has caused him, which makes me believe he truly cares for me and does not want to lose me. He has also made numerous other changes, although I will refrain from listing them all. The dilemma. Currently, we are taking a break with no contact, and I advised him that he should, and I will, see other people. I indicated that I could not see or talk to him for 1 month, as I need time to gather my thoughts and emotional clarity. At the end of this period, if I decide I want to reconcile, we can discuss it, but I warned him that he may never hear from me again, which he accepted. I feel that in terms of our relationship dynamic, we fit together extraordinarily well. Aside from the cheating, we have built an amazing relationship, complementing each other beautifully and bringing one another immense joy. I have always told him that any cheating would necessitate our breakup, yet here we are, and I am uncertain if this is warranted. While I am deeply hurt and feel betrayed, I also consider that his infidelity was not as severe as it could have been, and I believe we may emerge from this situation even stronger. He is currently requesting that we take things slow, remain apart, and meet once a week or every 2 weeks to essentially start anew, allowing him to work on regaining my trust and love. He has also said that if, in the end, I still decide I cannot be with him, he will accept that, knowing he at least made an effort. He is primarily seeking the opportunity to demonstrate his commitment, which is quite appealing. As I mentioned earlier, whenever he makes mistakes, he puts 110 into rectifying them, and I know he will do the same in this instance. It has only been a few days, but I am still deeply conflicted about the entire situation with no clear direction on what to do. I could end things for good and never speak to him again, or I could allow him the chance to repair our relationship without any guarantees. I might reevaluate my feelings after this break, explore new connections, or pursue numerous other avenues. I genuinely have no idea what my next steps should be, which is why I am reaching out on Reddit. Please share your thoughts. P.S. If you have read this far, I am genuinely impressed. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my concerns. Story 3. Tifu by sending my friend a spreadsheet of divorce lawyers, but one number led to a pizza place. My friend unknowingly shared his heart-wrenching story with a teen instead of a lawyer. How do you recover from revealing your life story over a pizza order? Back in February of 2024, one of my best friends, let's call him Chris, was enduring one of the darkest periods in his tumultuous and toxic marriage to his, now ex-wife, let's call her Cass. All of our friends, including myself and my spouse and Chris's family, and quite frankly, Cass, were hoping he would eventually find the strength to leave. We were all ready to support Chris in the aftermath, doing our best to help him without pressuring him into any decisions in the meantime. I knew that prying for more information than Chris was willing to share would only push him away, so I decided to simply try my best to maintain a steady connection with him while respecting his boundaries. Simultaneously, I had witnessed many divorces, lived through my parents' disastrous divorce, and regretted not putting more effort into legal support for another best friend when she went through her divorce out of fear of pressuring her too much. Therefore, in order to feel better prepared this time around, I began compiling a spreadsheet of all the divorce lawyers in Chris's county, as well as the best ones in the surrounding area that would take clients from his county. It is important to note that the county where Chris lived at the time was small. As a result, it seemed that there were 3 to 4 clearly superior candidates regarding local divorce lawyers. I gathered names, email addresses, phone numbers, postal addresses, and their average Google ratings, ensuring that the spreadsheet was filtered by rating to prioritize the top-rated lawyers for him. Despite having identified clear top candidates, in case one of those lawyers would not accept Chris as a client, I also included the information for all of the local lawyers with lower ratings. I figured that having all the information I could gather was better than having only a limited selection, and that is where I made my mistake. Some of the websites for the less frequently utilized lawyers appeared quite outdated. One had the aesthetic of a 2000s MySpace AOL era website, which really took me back to my youth. However, all the sites were active and maintained, and I justified this by reminding myself that the Y2K aesthetic is currently in vogue. Therefore, I included any attorney with an active website in my spreadsheet. I copied the information directly from the sites to ensure that I did not mistype any details. The day finally arrived at the end of March 2024 when Chris came home from work to find Cass with friends at the house. One of them was clearly more than just a friend. Chris was ultimately finished. After a significant fight, Cass moved into the living room to stay with this newfound friend. Chris reached out to me to share what had happened. I was devastated that he had to go through that, but relieved to know I had prepared. I revealed to Chris that I had created the spreadsheet. He was exceedingly grateful and asked if I could provide him with access to it. Since Chris worked upwards of 55 hours a week, I offered to contact the top 5 lawyers I had found via email and/or phone directly on his behalf, because I understood that if Cass reached out to any or all of them first, Chris would not be able to retain any of them as his lawyer until she had chosen one. Chris gladly accepted my assistance. I reached out to the top 5 lawyers and informed Chris that all he needed to do was call them to confirm he wanted a consultation to choose whom to hire. Chris was very appreciative, thanked me, took the spreadsheet, and got to work. A few weeks later, Chris told me he had contacted all the lawyers on my spreadsheet and secured one of the top contenders I had identified on the list. However, he also mentioned that I should have called all the numbers and not just the top ones. I was confused because he had initially been so appreciative that I offered to call any of them at all, so I inquired further. Chris explained. One of those numbers turned out to be a pizza place. I shared my entire situation with them, including that my ex-wife essentially left me for someone else, before realizing they were a pizza place. So now, some teenage employee knows my entire divorce story. I was unsure whom to feel most mortified for. Chris, for confiding in a teenager, the employee for receiving more than just a pizza order, or myself for failing to consider excluding the phone numbers from the extremely outdated websites I had found. Nevertheless, it is safe to say I was mortified, even if I was unclear about whom to feel that way for. For what it is worth, Chris moved to another state, started a new life, found a truly incredible woman who loves him dearly, now cracks jokes that the real reason he left town was to escape from the pizza teenager, and forgave me for my mistake. But it was indeed a significant error on my part. TLDR. I made a mistake by sending my best friend a spreadsheet of divorce lawyers that contained outdated information, resulting in him accidentally sharing his divorce story with a teenage employee at a pizza parlor in his town.